And I think the Hope for Henry Foundation and what this family has done for children and families with life-threatening illnesses is just extraordinary. They've taken what was, the only way to describe it is just a tragic event, and created hope for others out of this family tragedy that they had a few years ago. We are indebted to them for the support they've given to the department and to other children. We're so pleased to be part of this, and I think it's an extraordinary book, extraordinary event, and I'm pleased everybody could be here. Thank you.
You know, when I was driving up here, I was just thinking about how shall I introduce this extraordinary woman, Laurie. I've known her for so long. I think Georgetown was actually lucky that we were able to participate in Henry's care. See, Henry was a very, very special young man who had a twinkle in his eye and was always full of life. His main purpose in life was to get things done and do them with fun. He loved Batman, he loved Superman, he was a superhero, and he remains a superhero for all of us. But as Henry went through everything that happened in his life, there was a very, very powerful force right there with him every step along the way. And in addition to Alan, I'm not forgetting you, there was Laurie. Laurie is what every woman aspires to be. A mother whose unconditional love went place to place looking on how she could save Henry's life. She did everything possible in her power to make Henry well again. And during the time that Henry was being treated, she also succeeded in giving him the best quality of life possible that any child could want. So saving Henry is the story of Laurie's life and Henry's life. And I won't stand between you and Laurie anymore. I'm going to let her talk about the book. Thank you.
You know, he was so close with Dr. Shad and Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Abu-Ghash, and he had nicknames for everybody. And he had little personal jokes with everyone. And one of my favorite stories, and it appears in the book, is when it was late on a Friday night, and Henry had probably been here for a week or so. And Dr. Shad came by to say goodbye. It was Friday evening. She was going home for the weekend. She said, you know, have a good weekend, Henry. And he looked at her and he said, you know, that's easy for you to say. You're going home. I'm spending the weekend here in the hospital. And what makes it worse is I got like a birthday party I got to get to on Sunday, and like, I'm here. How am I going to do that? And she looked at him and she said, you know, I'm sorry, you know, there's always going to be another party. You'll get there. And he said, you know, I've got an idea. How about you write me a pass so I can get out of here for a couple hours on Sunday, and then I'll come back and you can hook me back up to the machines and like, we'll go on. And she said, well, that's an interesting idea. Will you wear your mask? And he said, yeah, I'll wear my mask. And I'll wash my hands too. And she said, okay, done. And you know, that Sunday morning they finished up all of his meds and detached his many, many lines from the IV. And he jumped out of bed, and we got in the car and we went to his little friend Rachel's birthday party. And he, you know, there was an obstacle course, and he had his, you know, his central line was hanging out, his mask was on, and he was just making his way through the obstacle course and having the ball, and got his goodie bag, which he thought was an absolute requirement of any party, which is why Hope for Henry always gives the kids great goodie bags, so you can thank Henry for that. But anyway, so he came back, and you know, that's how Henry lived. He was all about finding the fun in everything. And you'll see, you know, as you make your way through the book, and as you travel with us on our quest to save his life, at the beginning of each chapter is a list of some of Henry's favorite things. You know, from Batman, the obvious one, to meeting Cal Ripken, to collecting foreign currency and M&M's plain, not peanut, and other things. You'll be reminded, this is a little kid. He's just like all of your kids, and there's plenty to fight for. So, but I can't leave here because there's like a really special woman here tonight, and she's a leading character in the book. And I'm actually going to read a couple pages from the book, so that because it captures not just her and her relationship with Henry and him, but also why this is such a special place, because things like this happen here. So here goes. And then I'll be done and we can all drink wine and have a good time. And I signed the book if you want to know that. All right. By the winter of 2000, Henry was a regular at Georgetown Hospital's Lombardi Cancer Center, where he went several times a week for blood tests that tracked the progress of his bone marrow failure. He would bring his own Band-Aids, preferably Batman, to the flesh tone standard. And that's why you all have his toolbox stocked with great Batman Band-Aids for whenever you get a blood draw here. But anyways, he would stock the treasure box with Happy Meal toys to share with the other patients. Arriving in his ubiquitous Batman costume with fully equipped utility belt, he was a hit with all the doctors and nurses, especially Suzanne. "Can I be your girlfriend?" she asked after successfully inserting an IV in Henry's arm. "Nope," he said. "I already have one." Just about the last thing you'd want to have happen when you're a young man on a date with an older woman is for the hostess to welcome you and hand you a set of crayons and a coloring book, especially if she picked the wrong coloring book. "This is not the one I want," said Henry. "I want the one with the animals in it." Suzanne was impressed. "I like a man who knows what he wants," she said. Henry was a regular at Cactus Cantina, a Mexican restaurant in our neighborhood, whose delicious smell of fajitas welcomes you from blocks away. Being his favorite place to dine out, it was the destination he picked for all special occasions, and also whenever he had a craving for tortilla chips cooked just right. Suzanne Knubel, one of Henry's nurses at Georgetown Hospital, remained unsuccessful in her many attempts to steal Henry's heart from his girlfriend Bella, but she had safely secured a position high on his list of favorite people. She was tall, and still is, pretty still, and had a friendly smile and a terrific sense of humor. She was also good at finding a vein and getting a blood sample, always on the first attempt. Whenever Henry had to get his blood checked, Suzanne greeted him with a big hug. She laughed at his jokes and admired his strength and good attitude. After many conversations, some to clarify that he already had a girlfriend and others about logistics, Suzanne finally secured a date with Henry, on a Saturday night, no less. Henry watched for Suzanne's car from the wooden swing on our front porch. It was a crisp fall day, and the ground was covered with leaves that crunched with each step. It was late afternoon and the sun hadn't set yet, so the pumpkins on our porch were unlit, but you could easily make out the bat signal we had carved the day before into Henry's pumpkin. Suzanne drove up and Henry ran down the steps and they headed out for a special Saturday night. While they waited for the table, Henry acquired 2 pieces of uncooked tortilla dough, one for him and one for Suzanne, so they could squish it between their fingers. Given the early bird nature of their timing, they were lucky and got a table by a window so they could watch the passers-by. A creature of habit, Henry ordered the usual, a Sprite and some tortilla chips. He asked Suzanne to pass the salt shaker so he could meticulously salt each individual chip prior to eating it. At $1.49 for his entire meal, Henry was a cheap date. They ate, talked, and did word searches, and then they colored for the better part of an hour, went for a walk in the neighborhood when they were done. "That was the best date I've had in months," Suzanne reported after dropping Henry off later that evening. "He's the most handsome, delightful guy I know. He really knows how to make a girl feel special."